Welcome to the Death of a Dream podcast. You already know. Let's go ahead and ground ourselves in our greatness. I would love to go back through and just do a highlight of all of the great things that people I see have come in contact with, have listened to this podcast at any point, of the things that they're out there doing. And you obviously know, if you've been listening for a little while, Erica, one of the original listeners of this podcast, is doing such amazing work in her community, following her heart with the work that she's doing. And that's been amazing. There are so many other people who have started to just plant seeds. And it's kind of a running joke at our house that anyone that I come into contact with, even if they don't listen to this pod, but I have like broader, bigger conversations with, they generally dive off the deep end and go try something crazy. And I, for a little bit, just started to pay attention to the people who I had come in contact with and what they went and did. And it seemed like there was a significant amount of people who started to just bank on themselves shortly after I had a conversation with them. Now, I won't say that I am the catalyst in every single situation, but this is what I am going to say to you. And this is why it's so important to pay attention to your own light and the influence that you have on other people, knowingly and unknowingly, right? Because I just go into a conversation, usually at any point, and I am wildly inspired by people, by the dreams that they have for themselves, by the person themselves and the beauty that is, the originality that is their mind. And so, any conversation that I come into, I'm going to likely be super psyched for whatever you see as the vision for your life, for whatever dream you have. Like, by the way, if you're ever doubting anything, seriously, find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, like email me, the message me on the webpage. Like, I will pump you up like no other. I'm guessing you can imagine that. I will also talk through all of your ideas, but I think it comes down to this. Bottom line, most people just need one person to believe. Just need one person to speak light into what they want to do. One person. And as all of us venture into this world, and I know that it's hard to be that person, right? It's hard to show up for other people, even when you're struggling to show up for yourself. The more you show up for yourself, the easier it gets to show up for other people. If you're feeling super spiteful and hateful about dreams that other people are doing, it's probably because you didn't start showing up for yours first. Here's the deal. If you have an opportunity to be a light for someone's dream, to like cast a light like Erica did for me, do it. You will never regret it. And today we're going to dive in and talk about how important your imagination is. But more than anything, as you're venturing into this world together, use that light for good. It will not hurt you. It will never take away from you. And winners build together. I don't ever want to be standing up here casting a light because it casts more shadows than light. I want to be right there with you, just like you want to be right there with the people you're with, even if you're 3 steps ahead, right? The goal is not to become so high that you don't even understand the people around you anymore. The goal really is to walk alongside of them, knowing that some people are going to fall off and lose their way for a little bit, but most people are going to come back on board. Your job in this moment is to support and love and build as much as you can. And no judgment. Like, every single person that is walking out here, living this life, doing what they do, right? Has a specific brand, has a Pacific. Oh my gosh, Pacific. It makes no sense. It's not a word, but we said it anyways. Okay. They have something about them that sets them apart. Like, it's insane to me to think that so many people filter into the exact same career path, the exact same, like, outlet for their gift. Like, it's crazy to me because every person is so unique. And I think the more that we can bring out and highlight those unique things that make us us, that make us feel like us, right? The better off we're all going to be. The more that we're going to create a world where we're looking for outlets versus looking for vent sessions, the more that we're looking to highlight and help one another versus hold each other down so we can get a little bit higher than everybody else. The world is just so full of beauty and opportunity that it's silly that we think we have to compete to get there. Every single person that walks this planet has something beautifully unique to offer this world. And if you're sitting here and you're going, well, I really don't think I do, you're totally wrong. There's something for you to do here. That's kind of the beauty of this work. And that's the work that I think we tend to avoid because there's no easy answer. You can't just pick up a book and go, oh, found my purpose. Purpose-driven life brought me right where I needed to go. No, it really isn't that easy. And the path is so unique and it could take so many years. And the work probably is never over, right? Because we're just reinventing and finding new placement for our purpose as we venture through this life. It's ever changing. It's a podcast today, but it's speaking on stages tomorrow. It's a blog today, but it's starting a company tomorrow. It's a fill in the blank today, but it's management tomorrow. Whatever that looks like for you, it's always going to be fluid in how you do it. It's ever changing. The world is ever changing. And so we will continue to change and adjust and absorb and move and take different roles and take different titles and create and recreate whatever it is we want our life to be. And today, I think as I reflect through all of the amazing things that listeners of this show have done, that I've talked to about them, that non-listeners of this show, but just talkers of and with me, as I look back and think of all of the moves that those people have made, that I have made, that we have made as a community, I am inspired and challenged, right, to continue that growth, to continue that moving. And that means you show up ready and willing to listen and really hear what someone is saying, right? And that's the most challenging thing to do in a conversation. Listen. And then just support. Champion whatever they're saying. Do not listen with the ego side where you go ahead and insert all the things that you know that will probably shut down and shame maybe some of the ideas that they have. People are beautiful in the way that they bring things to life, and you can go ahead and trust that anyone with a vision and an imagination has all of the tools that they need to bring this to life. You do not need to gift them with your tools unless they ask, right? But your job is just to wildly support them and push them even further, right? Like, challenge their originality. Keep believing in whoever it is they want to be, in whatever imagination they have for the world that they want to create. Your job as a support person is just to believe. Believe even wilder than they can. Blow it up and grow it bigger than they can even see in front of them, right? Push their boundaries with what they're willing to believe about themselves because you saw the light and possibility first. Because sometimes all it takes is one person to see that light, to see that possibility, to push that possibility for them, and they could grow exponentially. And today, I think, as we continue to reflect and look at the growth that has come from this place, I want to keep continuing to push you to be that person for someone. You to believe in someone, because most people, that's all that they need. I would say every person that I've come in contact with since starting this show that I didn't have contact with prior, all they needed was that one push, that one conversation, like actually one conversation. That's it. And then they just did. They just ran. And you could be that person for someone, and you can be that person for so many people, and that's what's beautiful. So that's my great thing, just the continuance of the greatness of this show, the greatness of the people who listen to this show, the greatness in the movement of possibility through people just championing people, loving and believing in one another. And if you haven't been that light for someone today, go ahead and try it. It doesn't take from you. It only gives. All right, let's go ahead and roll on into this show. Hello. You know what? Since we're on the topic of possibility, since we're on the topic of imagination, I thought that I would start here. And I heard this quote the other day and it stuck with me. And you know how I like to bring things on, and I never know how they're going to play back into the show, but I always know that they're going to find their way here if they've kind of stuck and resurfaced over time. So today's quote, I don't always start with a quote, but you know, there's always a chance for new things. We never really know where this show is going because it is inevitably just my personal journey through my own life in navigating who I want to become, just right here in front of all of you, with all of you, so that maybe, I don't know, it gives you permission to do whatever you want. Maybe it gives you confidence because someone was crazy enough to create this thing, whatever this is, and maybe you go and make a show that's better than this, right? Go for it. But we're going to start with this quote. So this is by Albert Einstein. Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. And this is where I think we take this. Your present reality is limited, right? We're talking about knowledge is limited. In order to get where it is that you want to go, right, you have to allow yourself to dream it, to see it, to sort of embody that person, right? Without that imagination side, without being able to see where it is that you want to go, it's really hard. I will go ahead and throw out the world, nearly impossible to become anything you aren't allowing yourself to see. And this is where that gets tough because you have to match that frequency prior to becoming it, right? And we've been talking about frequency and like dreaming and allowing yourself to move through and become this person before you're even there. And how do you do that, Hannah? How do you become that? Well, here's how. It lies in the imagination. And this is what gets tough. And this was the toughest part for me because I have one of the most vivid imaginations that probably walks this planet. I always have. I could always dream and imagine worlds outside of the one that I was presently walking in. I could always see things before they came to present reality. And that's not like, okay, I'm maybe not a time traveler, nothing crazy going on here. But I always had a wild imagination, one that was not limited by other people's interpretation of what was possible, even when I was a kid. And so, how does that guide me now? Well, if I'm being 100% honest, it at times has held me back. And I think today was a great callback to me refocusing, me recommitting to my own imagination. And, within the past month, really committing to matching that vibe versus going back and forth, right? And this is what that looks like. So when I go out and I speak and I talk to groups of people, I think sometimes, actually I know because I've gotten the feedback, what I'm talking about isn't backed up by what other people would want as validation for what I'm saying to be true. And so I'm talking about things that I foresee, things that I know will come to fruition in my life with the way that I'm building this out. I'm talking about those in a present tense where present tense proof doesn't exist yet. And so people might look at that and go, oh, well, she hasn't made it. So why would I listen to her? Right? Nonetheless, I have to continue talking. I know, right? I knew back when I started this podcast, well, basically, like, that's a pretty ballsy move, right? When you think about it. I'm going to start a podcast kind of foreseeing where I want to go and banking on the fact that I wasn't going to fall so hard that I quit and embarrass myself more than if I had never started at all. Right? Like, that was almost 2 years ago now. That's kind of a big call out. But I could see the path. And in order to start traveling down that path, I had to just start matching that frequency by making moves, by doing things, anything. And the podcast obviously was the start. But I had to forecast what that was going to look like. Imagine how that was all going to play out prior to even starting, right? And just trust that it would all unfold as it was meant to. And so when I go out and talk places, I think where I've gotten stuck before was getting stuck in other people's interpretation or what their imagination was for what I was doing, right? And getting stuck with their measure of success. I have my exact measure of success and exactly how this is all going to play out and build. And so allowing other people's imagination and interpretation of success to limit or stifle my own imagination for what this looks like isn't super helpful. And I think it's where a lot of people get tripped up because here you are matching the vibe, going, nope, this is exactly where we need to be at this exact point. I see this, I see the vision for it. And then people are going to come into your life, right? That's why we started this show with the importance of just being a freaking light, not being someone who's trying to chop people down below you. People are going to come in and they're going to go, oh, wow. Yeah. Hannah, I don't know if I should save you from yourself at this point, but you're just recording a podcast in your spare bedroom. You realize that, right? Right? Are we? Am I the only one seeing this? Like, I just want to help you. Because I don't think that you don't have all these followers. You don't have all of the things that other people have. I don't think you're getting it. Let me help you. You've gone a little insane. And this is what I'll tell you. To anyone else who isn't here in this imagination, land where all of this plays out perfectly in my mind, right? Where all of this makes perfect sense, but maybe on the back end, maybe it doesn't make sense right now. Maybe posting to get 2 likes wouldn't be enough for someone else, but you know what? 2 likes is so much better than 0 likes. 4 likes and 1 follower is better than no likes and no followers, right? I committed and called to the building with all of you, right? With everyone that was willing to come along on this journey. That was intentional. That wasn't like, you know what, I'm going to build this all privately. Go ahead and fester and build this community and then launch onto the scene when I have 10,000 followers and I have 1 million listens and downloads, and then I want everybody to know what I did. No. I wanted everyone to know what it looks like to start at 0. I want everyone to know what it looks like to get to 10,000, to get to 20,000, to get to whatever, right? So then maybe people aren't so afraid to just imagine, to commit to their imagination versus commit to what success looks like to other people. I get it, right? But other people can't see it. You are the only one. You are the one who gets to decide what this looks like and how this plays out. And if you are willing to match that before you can see proof of it, right? My commitment to the proof that I could see was just one person. And it was really important to start there because one person is extremely hard to get. And trust, if you're building daily content, one person is really hard to hold on to. And then 2 people, and then 3 people, and now maybe 30 people, and now maybe 40 people, and now maybe 50 people, right? And to everyone else, they're going, well, that's a very small amount. And to me, I'm going, well, that's a huge amount. 1, from where we started. 2, to where we're headed. And in the grand scheme of how all of this plays out, what a beautiful picture to draw. 4 people, right? But you have to start with the crazy notion of betting on yourself first. Betting on something you can see before you ever get there. And you continuing to match that frequency regardless of what people say, regardless of people seeing what they see as proof, and then bringing that into your realm, right? You're okay. You're okay to stay in the imagination phase of how all of this plays out. You don't have to venture back into reality world. And I think for me, that's super challenging, as we continue to go out, because every time that I kind of speak, people are looking at where I'm at and wanting proof that's bigger than my exact place right now, right? They're wanting proof that I know is coming 5 years from now, that I'm forecasting and committing to. They want it right now in order for me to be speaking on that subject. And that's okay, right? Everyone is going to pull out what they want. Everyone is going to look at and sort of judge where you are based on what they know. What I want you to start doing, what I want all of us to start doing, and me especially as I continue to forge down this path, is stay committed to the imagination. Stay there. Don't allow other people to come in and derail you. You know how it plays out. They don't. And why would we leave it up to interpretation of someone who has no idea of the vision that you have for yourself? And even if you've clued them in, let me go ahead and throw this one out there. If there is anyone who is continuing to bring you down, go ahead and remove yourself. If you needed a sign, there it is. Remove yourself for long enough to just escape the darkness. And then start taking whatever steps lead you closer to that imagination, closer to the unapologetic imagining of what your life is going to look like. And then go ahead, live in Wonderland. Be there with the silly, crazy things. Be there with numbers looking like this, bank accounts looking like this, X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank, looking like this present reality. It's okay to know that you're here, that you're in this world that you can imagine. In fact, you have to in order to match that frequency, right? And that looks like, okay, money's not there today, but I know it's coming. It's coming because of all of this build. Okay, position isn't there today, but I know that it's being built, right? I can see that being built perfectly for me, and I am just building all of my confidence, all of my, right, professional resources, all of my knowledge. I'm building that as they build out what that position will be. You think that those things can't happen, maybe because they don't exist yet, but I am telling you, if you can dream it, you can become it. I remember, and it's sort of silly now that I play things out, now that I'm venturing into how powerful my own imagination is. I remember sitting and saying, like, I think if I could do anything, I would just want to be a strategist, and I'd love to just sit and think through how you strategize and play out personal brands, and how you strategize and play out and build companies, and how you do that. And I love the process of thinking bigger and imagining and sort of seeing the bigger picture and then building all of the pieces to get to that bigger picture. I love being able to freely imagine things. And, you know, a short 2 or 3 years later, 1 year later, all of a sudden I was given that title of a strategist. And at that point, I really didn't even know what that meant. I just kind of liked the word, and I thought that it sounded kind of boss-ish, and I wanted to do that. And so, you know, commitment to the here and now, and commitment to the imagination of what it will be. Today, in order to match that frequency, just because you don't see proof of it yet, you still have to believe in the buildup. You have to believe that it is going to be there, that it is meant for you, that it is perfectly aligned, and that you, my friend, are beautifully abundant and called into this world to be that light, to be that person. Believe in the buildup. Believe that even if the money isn't there today, even if the position isn't there today, even if the company isn't there today, that it's yours to do. And every step that you're taking today, every step that you're taking on this path, as long as you allow yourself to imagine it, you are that much closer. And matching that frequency just looks like not doubting it, and not letting anyone come into the stratosphere that brings any doubt either. They're only judging the success based on what they can see, and their vision for your life is limiting yours. Others can't see it. You are the only one. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. what are you going to do? Change the world.